So, here we are playing in the Shadow of the Emperor, and took care of the incomes coming in. Yellow once again. They didn't go over this time, but they topped it off, and everybody's got a lot of money to work with at the end of the game here. It's like a lot of these games. We saw that in Byzantium, I think, where the amount you can do later in the game becomes greater, and that's what money really comes down to. I left all the cards out because it'll help me remember what people did. The aging took place. We see a lot of holes opened up again, but it's become less important, say, what nobles you have, perhaps, because the cities and the knights are becoming more stable and important as the game goes on. And I think what that kind of means, it's kind of a nice feature because it's showing the decline of the nobility. I don't know how much that nicely ties into what the game's actually representing, but at least it's giving a picture of something, which makes me a little happier here. Okay, so but in the lifespans exposed, maybe it doesn't make terrible sense. Maybe it does. It's hard to tell because we're talking about that era where the Reformation is really, taking hold, perhaps, although it's not represented here. But certainly if you have the gray eminence in there, that's a period you're talking about where Protestantism is a part of the equation, even if it's not in the game. Okay, so let's look here. They got pink, men a girl. They cut a deal with the other losing power, red, essentially. Whether or not they actually had to word this, they offered a marriage and gave it here, which is, unfortunately, in a diocese, less valuable in some ways. No, it wasn't there. It was down here. Great. Okay, so more valuable, and took their victory point. And likewise, red did the same with yellow, offering one here and taking a victory point for that. Nobody would take green's offer of marriage, so green had to take just a money, which will boost their income for, just so I can remember how much they had at the beginning of the turn. That's all I can use those chips for. It's the only thing I can justify them. And then blue got a male heir, which they stuck down here in the Rhine, putting them in contention there. Blue's not holding a lot right now. Green looks like they're in slightly stronger position, although they have the same amount of victory points at 14 each. It looks like they're in a slightly stronger board position. And in terms of the opposition, that's obviously yellow, who's currently sitting with the emperor, and red is almost out of this, I would say, although you feel, because they don't have that emperor advantage, but they might be able to take advantage of their weaker position to gain judgments from yellow's support. Now, yellow's only going to get one victory point for being the emperor if they can hold on to it. And chances are nobody's really going to be trying too hard to unseat them. One victory point just isn't worth that much effort. What is worth an effort, though, is grabbing an electorate that you didn't have before, getting the 2 victory points for that. All right, let's get playing. On this last round, things feel a little different. Let's take a look, though. Yellow did the same old thing. They reduced the age of their Colne Archbishop. They want to make sure he's okay so he can reduce someone else's age, and anybody could have triggered an attack on him. They're very, very paranoid about that for whatever reason. Red went with a move action. Now, they pulled somebody out of here where they have a predominance and slipped them into here where they have almost no chance. The reason? Yellow seems to be competing in Trier. They don't want to go head-to-head with yellow. They don't want to go into here for the same reason. They had the advantage here. They had to find a place. Yellow's more in power here. So this was the only location. Yellow had already inserted themselves in here. Red feels like they might have to go toe-to-toe with yellow at some point, but they don't want to do it necessarily right away. They want to see what they can get yellow to commit to and maybe take advantage of a weakness. Because they have a big pile of people. Unfortunately, people are hard to put down, especially as these come out, and green played one of these. They played a big 5-pointer of it to jump into here and put themselves into contention in Trier. Now they actually put themselves in a tie for first in Trier, and blue moved in and did a marriage with a foreign woman in order to get the current dominance there. But right now things are a little, shaky in all these different locations. You don't want to let green get this, so you have to protect it. Even though you kind of want to gain this, but you have the points for this. You don't have the points here, you don't. You probably aren't going to be able to beat yellow and that. So you're trying to squeeze every last point out here and not give other people too many. Hard choices. Okay, so for the points here, this is a harder call. Let's look at what happened. Yellow placed a noble, and they placed an expensive one, putting them at 2, 3, 4. That's in the lead here now. Red, damned if I know what red did. Maybe nothing as far as I know. I think red placed a city, and I forgot to take the city card because their money is way down. Okay, and they're still trying to compete here, but they're only at 3. 2, 4, 5, 6 is what they're opposing. They can't get this. Of course, they scored an extra victory point with the city card. Green placed another. Nope. That right? They did that last time. Trying to see what they did. Did they place a city? They indeed also placed a city. And it's very easy for me to forget these because I have to draw a victory point card. But they dropped a city in here, putting them in contention, but still behind yellow. I don't see this as being a plausible attack vector, and I think they're making a mistake by playing them. And then we go to blue, and blue did a move, and they shifted someone out of here, I think into here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, putting them in the lead here, and they've pretty much nailed it down. Okay, well, yellow. That does not look right. I don't think they added someone. I don't know what they did. So hard to remember. I don't see any powers that they played, though. They added someone here. I don't know if that was last turn. I don't know that they've done anything this turn, and I can't remember. I really can't. I'm going to just say, I don't know what they did, but they did something. And I'm in that place in this game because it's really hard to remember what happens. It's all just this placement thing. So there's not really this great story to help remind me. So it's very easy to forget to do something, and it's very easy to forget that I've forgotten to do something. Okay, I'll just ignore it for now. Let's look. Another city for red. This is a hopeless cause, but they pulled 2 more victory points, and that's putting them in really the leading range. Blue's up there too. Green poisoned, and this may be something that happened, I don't know. I may have made somebody younger. I think that's what I did. Green poisoned one of the yellow, or no, blue did that. Green grabbed a victory point. Blue poisoned one of the yellow leaders down here, making Brandenburg much more available to them. Okay, again. And let's look now. Yellow poisoned a blue leader. I didn't have to do what I did. I'm not doing what I did with blue. I didn't pay for it either. Blue will pay 5 instead to move a married couple into here. Okay, let's look. All right, yellow poisoned a blue leader that I had marked there. Red grabbed the card. Red's out of play now. They had no money, so it was fine for them. Green. Green did not grab a victory point card. So what did Green do? They triggered off a 15-year-old who they dropped in here. That kind of stymies things a little bit there. That makes it hard. Mainly hard for Blue to pick up and regain that. But Blue paid 5 to drop someone in here. Now they could have paid 1. This is what I did originally, to move this guy over there. Why not? I don't know. It's probably the better move. Actually, let me give them $2 back and put only a 1-pointer in here, because they can still trigger off that move with a $1 thing, or they can trigger off a marriage with a $2 thing. Either way, it doesn't really hurt them and opens things up again. And we're getting closer to the wire, but Yellow's still got a lot of bucks left to defend their empire. Yellow spent to drop a new 2-point couple in place. Red's halted. Green bought a vote. They've got an extra vote in the election. They want to use that, presumably, to prevent Red from winning the electorate and getting a vote, I guess. It's hard to tell. We'll see how things balance out. But the buck was useless for anything else. The only other thing they could do was buy a knight with it. There was nothing they could, nowhere they could put it that was helpful. Oh, I lied. They did not buy that. They bought a knight here. Except there wasn't empty yet. Why not go back? Well, Blue did not buy a person. Blue spent $1 to move a guy from here to here, thereby giving him 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. But somehow I screwed up because there's 5 for Yellow, and I can't count in this game. Blue's got a $1 left, and they've got a knight left, so they can still take that. I just didn't bother counting. We're on Yellow. Yellow has no money. They can't do anything. Red can't do anything. Green has no money. They have to pass. Blue has a $1, and they toss an extra knight in. And that gives them everything they wanted. Let's make sure everybody's played their special effects. It looks like they have. Hard to keep track of all the stuff in this. It's one of the problems I have with the Eurification of games. This is a pure Euro, so you can't complain too much. But when you're looking at things like Twilight Imperium or Warrior Knights, you're facing these kinds of, you got to know everything that's going on everywhere to make a rational decision type of attitude. And I don't like that. I really actually don't. I find that the worst thing that the Euros have brought. Obviously, if things like Damfrost are Euros, they did not bring this. But games like this really do, and Die Macher, where you have to be paying attention to all knobs and pick the right one to twist at any given time. I don't like doing that. All right, we'll go on to the electors and see what happened. Okay, so the electoral changes. Yellow took over in Trier. They also picked up the Palatinate. That's 4 points for them. They're up to 16. That's where everybody else is who's in the lead. Blue grabbed Brandenburg, giving them 2 points, up to 16. Green stuck at 16. Red's at 14. Red is the opposition. Red is who people want to win. Now, Red screwed up. They're due 2 more points too, and should be at 16 as well. It should be a multiple tie, except they forgot again to put somebody in here who could be the Archbishop of Mainz. They've got another married couple there. Hard to remember all this crap. Okay. And yes, obviously, if you played it a few times, you'd get used to that, and it would be pretty easy. Or if you're not as dumb as I am. Anyway. Let's move forward and see what the election is going to be like, because we've got a red versus yellow election. And in this election stands 1 point, which if yellow wins it, they win the game. Right? Well, maybe not. All their supporters get a point too. But if red wins it, their supporters may not. Let's see what the tiebreaker is here. Is there one? There better be. No, it's the player with the most victory points. Well, At this point, here's the real question. Count your votes. And everybody's got to take a look. Let's start looking. What is red holding that they have votes for? They have 2, and that appears to be it. And that's going this way. Yellow has 1, 2, 3, and that's going for the umpire. Other votes? Well, let's count them and see what we got. Green has 1, 2. Blue has 1. Now, we're in a prisoner's dilemma type of situation here, aren't we? For each of the players. Red and yellow don't have to make any decision. But green. Green is sitting on 2 votes, right? Okay. If green votes for red and blue votes for yellow, yellow will get to cause a tie between blue and yellow. If green votes for yellow with his 2 votes, that's 5 votes. There is no way that green can't lose. So green is definitely... Simple game theory says, you know, I can either go for a 3-way tie or a 2-way tie with just blue. And I mean, that's really the option here. If I take this choice and blue takes this choice, green and blue win and yellow's left out. But if I go with yellow, no matter what blue picks, yellow and I are going to win. And blue can make the same decision and say, you know, I know that he's going to pick that. And I know if I pick this and he chooses otherwise, I get a 2-way tie anyway, which is the best I can hope for. I can't swing this to red. Therefore, everybody's going to vote there. And we each have 17 points except for red. So it's a 3-way tie in a 4-way game that took this many hours and didn't really give me any real image or picture or story. I'd call that a failure. I mean, I really would. When one person loses and everybody else wins, when it seems almost likely to come down to this kind of balancing where people can then make this decision and can perhaps all win. Now, will everybody be at 16 points or at some equal amount? Probably not. But I think it's fairly likely that you're in a position where you're handed at the very end of the game what amounts to a prisoner's dilemma, and it is actually obvious what your choice might be. Maybe I'm wrong. This is one playing. In the 2-player game, it certainly wasn't this way. It was all about dominating the board and maintaining the empire and as one of the players and trying to oppose it as the other, but failing miserably. You could completely dominate this game as the emperor. At least I was able to in a first playing. Anyway, I'll come back with the review, but I'll load this up.